Your kid just got their driver's license, and like most parents, you're probably concerned about their safety and how they might conduct themselves on the road. Um, my name is Brian L. Jackson. I am a Tulsa attorney, and this is a new channel. I'm starting to talk a little bit about some basic legal issues under Oklahoma law that you might encounter as a citizen just out and about. This first video is really intended for parents of teenagers who are either just starting to drive or will soon be starting to drive. And Specifically, what I want to talk about is dealing with the police. Now, for most of us who are not out there like engaging in serious criminal behavior, the most likely scenario where you would encounter the police is going to be a traffic stop. And the same would go for your children. So to start with, I want to talk about the traffic stop and what to teach your child about how to interact with cops if they get stopped. And this advice is generally good advice whether they were breaking the traffic laws or not. Now, for starters, I'll paint a little picture for you. Let's say that your son or daughter has been pulled over by the cops. So they see the lights going, they're pulled over by the cops. What's the first thing they should do? Well, obviously, start slowing down. And they should have an eye out for someplace safe to stop. You don't want to stop in the middle of the road and impede traffic, for example. And if there's no shoulder, then it's probably a good idea to go somewhere where they can pull off safely, like either where there is a shoulder or a driveway or a parking lot. So if they can't stop right away, a good practice is you immediately slow down and you flip your hazard lights on. That will signal to the cop that you see them, that you are attempting to comply. And then the first opportunity you have that you can stop somewhere safely, you should stop. Now, if it's during the daylight, you want to mainly pay attention to put the car in park. You can cut the engine and put the keys up on the dashboard and then have your hands visible. A good place is here and here on the wheel. So the cop can see your hands when they approach the car. Also, you want to before you do that, you want to roll the window down. That way, your hands are where they can see them, the window's rolled down, and they don't have any reason to be concerned. Now, if it's at night, an added safety rule that I always like to advise is if your car has a dome light, flip the dome light on. And again, window down, hands like this, and keep your hands there. Now, the first thing that most cops will say to you when they do a traffic stop is to ask you if you know why they stopped you. This is a common trap people fall into is the cop asks them and they immediately say, well, maybe I was going too fast, or maybe I didn't come to a complete stop at that stop sign. Bad idea. The correct answer to this question, and it is the only correct answer, and it is always the correct answer because you're not lying, is no, officer, I have no idea. And I want you to think about this carefully, and I'll put it to you in kind of a snarky way, but I'm not meaning to be 100% funny about this. Ask yourself this question: did you go to Hogwarts? Do you read minds? Now, if you're like most of us, you didn't go to Hogwarts and you don't read minds. So you have no idea what that cop thinks they saw. So with that in mind, the correct answer is always, no, officer, I have no idea. Which will usually prompt them to tell you why they stopped you. Now, when they do that, you shouldn't argue. Definitely don't try to defend yourself. You shut it. You don't admit, you don't say I'm sorry, you don't try to argue, you shut it. Now, they will probably ask to see your driver's license and your proof of insurance, which you should have handy. Now, if your driver's license is in the same place most of us carry it, it's going to be in a purse or it's going to be in a wallet. Now, this is an important safety rule, particularly at night, is you should tell the cop, my license is here. Like, for example, it's in my wallet, which is in my front pocket, or it's in my purse, which is here. And tell them where the insurance card is. Well, it's in the visor, it's in the dashboard. And then ask permission. May I reach into my pocket to get my license out? May I reach into my purse to get my license out? May I reach into my dashboard to get my insurance card? And I think this is really important for young kids to understand. You don't want to do it. You do not want to surprise the cop with anything that you do. because if you catch a cop on a bad day, and particularly if it's at night, it could be unpredictable how they react to this. Now, if what should you? What if they continue to ask you questions? Well, something to remember: that you are not obliged to talk to them beyond providing your identification and your proof of insurance. And if they start getting nosy, your best play is not to talk to them, to decline to answer questions, and do so affirmatively. What do I mean by affirmatively? I mean, officer, with all due respect, because I know you have a job to do, I'm going to decline to answer any questions. And if they continue to push you, your next thing you should say is, I'm going to decline to answer any questions. I'd like a lawyer. And then you stop talking. Now, by doing that, you have now invoked your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent and your Sixth Amendment right to counsel. At that point, if they continue to grill you, should anything come out, it is most likely inadmissible in an Oklahoma criminal court. So you're reasonably protected against incriminating yourself by doing that. You don't have to tell the cops where you're going. You don't have to tell the cops what you've been doing. You don't have to tell the cops what you might or might not have in the car. And you shouldn't. Especially if you have something on you that you know you shouldn't have. And for minors, that goes beyond the stuff you would normally think of. In addition to the obvious things like drugs, weapons, things like that, if they have cigarettes, if they have alcohol, if they admit to being in possession of these items, which for a mature adult might be 100% legal, for a minor, it's a crime. Now, it's not a serious crime, but it is a crime and they can be cited for it. So don't admit to it. What about if they ask you to get out of the car? Do you have to get out of the car? Short answer is yes. However, that doesn't mean you have to let them into your car to search. So a good idea if the cops ask you to get out of the car is comply, shut the door and lock it. And you still don't say anything. Now, if they ask permission to search the car, the answer is always no. And I would suggest you have your kids memorize this phrase or something similar. Again, you want to be respectful, and you would say something like, "Officer, I understand you have a job to do, and with all due respect, I don't consent to any searches." And you want to be very unambiguous about that. And understand you may be under some pressure. They may imply to you or outright threaten you with arrest if you don't cooperate. It shouldn't matter. You never, ever, ever consent to a search. Now, I can hear the counter position to this. Well, that's just going to complicate things and it'll detain me at the scene. And I really don't have anything on me that's going to cause me a problem. So here's my response to that. First of all, I would say ask yourself this question. How certain are you about what it is you actually have in your car? And I say this because I put it to you this way. If you're like most of us, and I do this too. You carry passengers. You might carry friends, family, your little brat sister or brother. Can you say with absolute certainty that any one of those people might or might not have left something in the vehicle that could get you in trouble? Now, if you're being honest with yourself, and I'll be the first to say this, I don't necessarily know for sure. I'm fairly certain, but I don't know for absolute certain that there's nothing in my car that somebody else might have left there that could cause me a problem. So consequently, I don't consent to searches of my vehicle, and neither should you. That cigarette butt, beer cap, bullet could get you arrested. So seriously, never consent to a search of your vehicle. Another reason not to consent is outside of whether or not they might find something there that could get you arrested. The other reason is if they break anything, they damage your personal property, whatever, you could be waiving any claim you might have for liability on the part of the cop for having broken your stuff. They're not your maid, they don't have to be gentle. So the long and short of it is it's probably a good idea, and I always suggest this, never consent to a search. And if they promise you leniency because they've already caught you in something else, don't believe that. Here's another thing to be aware of in Oklahoma. Cops have very little discretion if they catch you in the act. In most situations, if you've been caught doing something other than very petty traffic offenses, they will cite you because they have to. They will arrest you because they have to. As far as whether or not you're going to be charged, that's the decision of the prosecutor. And as a general rule, your chances of not being charged go up dramatically if you don't do things that set you up to incriminate yourself. Now, I will say that all of these things with a very major caveat that you should not be disrespectful. I don't care if the cop is being a total jerk. You should never be disrespectful to a cop who stopped you. Everything is yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, officer, no, officer. But you don't volunteer information, and you definitely don't consent to searches. And then there's one last thing I want to cover with you guys, and this is something parents, you need to talk to your kids about too. After the encounter is done, leave. And you should not wait for them to dismiss you. Once they hand you your citation or your warning or whatever it is they're going to do, the next thing out of your mouth should be, "Officer, am I free to leave?" Now, if the answer is no, then you can't leave. If the answer is yes, then you leave. Do not let them engage you in small talk. I've seen this tactic happen, especially in some of the smaller towns around Oklahoma, where the cops will try to engage you in small talk. And what they'll do is they'll get you to stay at the scene while they summon a sniffer dog to go over your car. And here's the thing. You don't have to consent for them to run a dog down your car, and it's not considered an illegal search. They don't need probable cause to run a dog down the outside of the car. There's case law on that point. The best way to avoid having that happen to you is not to stick around at the scene. Leave. Because if you don't, it's now a voluntary encounter, and whatever happens, happens. They're not your friend. Don't let them chat you up. Leave. Because if that dog runs down your car and alerts for whatever reason, now they have probable cause and they're going to toss the car. And if they find something, you're probably going to jail. So do yourself a favor and leave. As soon as you have clarified it with the cop that you're free to go, you get yourself out of there. And guys, if you have any questions about that, I would encourage you, reach out to me and give me a call. I can be reached at 918-585-1107. I'm an attorney with the firm of Fry and Elder. I'm happy to help you out if you have any questions, concerns, or if you have had an encounter with the cops recently that went badly and you need help. Thanks, guys. Bye.